Good evening, I'm David.
And I'm Sharon.
We are your trusted real estate advisors, back to give you some advice regarding buying a home.
Okay, so you've made that very important decision, one of the biggest decisions ever in your life, and a very wise decision, and a very exciting one to buy your new home or to buy another home. All right, I know that it's very tempting to immediately start searching out on the internet and social platforms for that new home you're looking for. But I'm just going to ask you right now to just break a little bit, just hold up a second and listen to a few things that I'm going to lay out for you that will make that experience a lot smoother for you. All right, the first thing you need to do before you start searching for your home is to get a pre-approval. And the steps to doing that is first to identify 3 institutions, banks, credit unions, 3. And we say 3 because you're actually shopping for someone who's going to give you the best mortgage deal. So you need to look at 3 people, decide who you want to go with, and then start that loan process. Now, in the beginning, you're going to talk to someone on the phone, and they're going to say that we're going to pre-qualify you. And in pre-qualification, no papers or documents pass between you. They're going to ask you a couple of questions, which you'll answer, and then they'll say, sure, we may be able to help you there. Sure, you can get a mortgage, but that's not that's not written in stone, all right? Because first you have to go through a process called underwriting. Now, that's where the pre-approval process comes in. When we go through pre-approval, then documentation is passed between you and the institution. Your W-2s, your pay stubs, credit check is being done, and any other documentation that they need to look at your debt to income ratio to verify what you're saying. When all of that is done and the bank comes back and says, you're approved, you have a pre-approval, they will then give you an amount that they are willing to loan you to purchase this new home. And that's a first great step because now you have a budget to work with. Okay, so now with this budget, we now can find out what price range to look in to find your house. Okay, now the other thing that we're going to do is, I'm going to ask you to put together a list of your must-haves and your nice-to-have. It'd be nice to have that, but there are some things that are must-haves. You must have a certain amount of bedrooms. You may feel as though you must be in a certain location, in proximity to your job or to childcare. So there are some things. And when you give me those things, in addition to now we have a money budget, that's the information I will use in order to search for your home. Okay, so now we're at the process where we're searching. And when I put in this information, houses will come up. So how do I communicate that to you? Okay, well, the first thing is that most likely I will meet you in the office, and in the office I'll pull up the houses that I found for you, and you look at them on a screen. There also could be that there'll be times when I'll send them to you. You may be not able to come in, and we could do it maybe via Zoom call or something. But either way, I'll find a way to get those properties to you to see. And also, on a regular basis, new properties come in. So again, I wouldn't call you back into the office for that. I would email it to you. You would preview it on your computer, just like we did in the office, and let me know whether that's something you're interested in. Once we narrow that down and you have found something that you're pretty sure that you like and you want to see, then we will physically go out so that you can put eyes on that property and you can see for sure the size of the room, where it sits at in the cul-de-sac or the subdivision or on the street, whatever it is that you've decided that you want, you'll be able to see it And at that point, we'll start narrowing down further until you find that home that you love. So that's our first steps.
Okay. So now you've found this home, your dream home. And so now you want to make an offer. Well, one of the things that you have to understand is that in real estate, everything has to be in writing. So our offer has to be a formal written offer. Here in Georgia, where we are, it's called a purchase and sales agreement. Purchase and sales agreement will outline what it is that you're looking to pay for the property, legal description information regarding the property, the closing attorney, due diligence period, any type of special stipulations or whatever that are going to be contained in the contract. All of that will be contained in the purchase and sales agreement. Now, the purchase and sales agreement that we submit is merely an offer. Once that offer is received by the listing agent will then sit down with his or her client and discuss our offer. If it's acceptable to the client will simply sign off on it. The agent will send me a signed copy, letting me know that we have a contract. If their client looks at it and decides no, it isn't acceptable, then they will send me a counter offer. Once they send me a counter offer, I will then sit down with you and discuss the counter offer that they've sent. You'll tell me whether that's acceptable or not. If that's not acceptable to you, then we will counter their counter. And we'll continue to go back and forth like this until we reach what we call a meeting of the mind. Meeting of the mind meaning that both buyer and seller agree to the terms of the contract. Once both agree to the terms of the contract, then at that point we have a contract subject to due diligence. Due diligence is usually 7, 10, or 14 days. The purpose of due diligence are for inspection purposes, which Sharon will discuss with you now.
Okay, so now we've come this far. So now what happens once you've gotten to this point, then your lending institution will send someone out to appraise the property for value. All right. During this time, it is also highly recommended that you, the buyer, have an inspection done on the house yourself. Now, the seller will disclose to us what they know, but there may be defects that aren't visible to the naked eye. And you having an inspection will uncover those things if it exists. Now, once you get an inspection, the inspector will give you a long list, a detailed list of everything that they inspect, and they're going to look at everything. And they'll give you a list. The good and the bad. They'll show you, it'll tell you everything. Now, the advantage for you with that is that now you've received something, and if you see something there, a repair you feel needed to be made or you would like to be made, we now can negotiate with the seller to see if they are willing to fix it or willing to help you or give you some type of concession for this repair that you feel is needed to be done. So again, it's very important that you do that. It's for your peace of mind, and it's also to give you a very clear picture of what you're buying at this point.
Okay. And along with the inspection, it is a very good idea to get a survey. However, you do not need the survey until after you close. Anytime after you close is fine. The reason why you want a survey is so that you know exactly what your property lines are. Because what happens sometimes in a resale is the person who sold the house, they only know the property line based on what was told to them. The only person who actually knows the property line is the person who built the house and the first owner of the house, because the first owner of the house was actually given a survey. So the reason why you want a survey, in addition to knowing what your property lines are, is you want to know whether or not someone's trying to build a fence on your property. You want to know whether or not someone has a tree hanging over on your property. You want to know if someone is actually on your property. You know what I mean? And the only way that you'll know it is if you actually know your property boundaries. So you want to invest in a survey. Now, the next thing that I want to also suggest to you is that anytime you're buying or selling real estate, that you have an agent. Okay? The reason why you want an agent is because they are real estate professionals and this is what they do all the time. They assist people in the buying process and in the selling process. So you want an agent. The other thing that you want to consider is an agent can save you a lot of time because an agent can research for you, an agent can arrange showings for you, an agent can negotiate on your behalf. There's a lot that an agent can do for you because they know the contracts, they know the market, so they can be of a tremendous help and benefit to you. And the bonus for you is that in most cases, you're not responsible to pay the agent. You know, the
As a
agent is
buyer.
paid. The agent is paid off of the sale of the property. So you, as the buyer, aren't responsible for any kind of payment to the agent. The only way that you become responsible for any kind of payment to the agent is in the event that something were to happen that in some way you jeopardize that agent's ability to be paid for the transaction. And then in that case, then you would be responsible. But the chances of that happening are pretty slim and none. The next thing I want to talk to you about is the closing process. Sharon has shown you your dream home and now you're all ready to close. So we have submitted all of your documents to the listing agent. Your listing agent has submitted all those documents to the closing attorney. So the closing attorney has all the documents that they need from the seller. They have all the documents that they need from the buyer. They've received a loan package from the lender. They pulled the title. Title is clear. No judgments, no liens, no encumbrances, no clouds on the title. Everything is nice and clean. File is complete. At that point, we're cleared to close. So at this point now, we're going to schedule the actual closing. Schedule a time, schedule a date. So that will be coordinated between you, the buyer, and the seller through your respective agents. Okay? Once that happens, we will meet at closing. The closing attorney will be there. The closing attorney will explain all of the documents to you, explain what you have to sign, why you're signing it, and all of that. You got any questions, you're free to ask the closing attorney. He or she will be more than happy to answer any questions for you. After you signed everything, then the transaction is complete. Now, I got to back up because there's two things that are very important. One is, if it is a loan, you must have a homeowner's insurance policy. And you must have a homeowner's insurance policy by the time you close. So you have to be able to provide proof of a homeowner's policy at closing if it is a loan. Okay? If you're buying a house in cash, you still need a homeowner's insurance, but they're not going to press you for it because you're buying the house outright. But if there's a loan involved, you must produce a homeowner's policy. The other thing that you have to have is some kind of government ID, preferably a driver's license or something that identifies who you are. Okay? Once all the documents are signed and everything, then what happens then is that whatever physical items have to be turned over to you, the buyer, from the seller, such as the keys to the property, garage door openers, or any other physical thing that has to be given, all of that is turned over to you at closing. Once all of that is turned over to you at closing, then we all give, congratulations and all, to the new buyer, and we congratulate the seller on the sale of his or her home. And then at that, the transaction is complete. And at that point, everyone goes their separate ways. Sharon and I will naturally be in touch with whoever our client was, whether it was the seller or the buyer, and answer any further questions or concerns that they may have after closing or whatever. And so then that will basically be it. So until next time, your trusted real estate advisor, David and Sharon, signing off.